I had 30K in revenue before I ever had a website or domain or anything. This could definitely be a $300,000 to $400,000 company here. It could be 5, 6, 700,000, no doubt.
How much of what we said did you go out and implement and it worked? And how much of what we said was it like, yeah, this didn't work. I had to go out and find customers this way.
I'm not joking. Word for word, I had pretty much written down the exact text to send, the exact softwares to try it out. There's pretty much no risk in my day-to-day.
That's amazing.
I work with the same contractors who continue giving me same sub jobs all the time. So my marketing spend is almost zero, and this wasn't going to hurt me. So I was like, I'm going to try this today.
Yeah, Tyler, I just want to hear what your story is. Specifically, like what made you want to quit your B2B sales job and do this, and how has it been going so far?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, I graduated from college about 4 years ago. I have been in B2B sales since. We have been looking throughout that time to get entrepreneurship in some way. You know, classic, I read Buy Then Build, and I was like, I'm going to buy a business, and I had $0 in my bank account. So that, slowly crashed down reality wise, and then looked into some service franchises, and there's a lot of moments of cold feet. I heard the idea about a stump grinding business from your podcast originally. I've documented this on Twitter a few times, but something clicked there. I'm not really sure why. I was on a tree crew in high school. I'd ground like a stump or two, a handle grinder at the time. Never used a machine like what I use now, but yeah, you kind of put it in a perspective. I was like, oh, that's kind of just B2B sales. I know how to do that. And grinding stumps is not that complicated. Like maybe we can just give it a shot and see what happens. And yeah, it's slowly, I did not plan on ever quitting my job with stump grinding. I was like, this will help me save more cash. And it slowly progressed from there.
So you've always been a grinder.
Always.
Tyler the Grinder. That's what they call him.
He's been grinding since college, Chris. You didn't know that?
Yeah, I do now.
When did we have that conversation, Chris?
July
11th. I found the episode just so I had it for my notes. You know what I mean? When I heard it, because I heard it the day it came out. And then August 3rd is when I did my first 3 jobs from July 11th.
Funny enough, Chris, you were in Utah when we recorded that episode, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was serendipitous.
That's perfect.
I don't really remember the whole conversation. What was it about stump grinding that you're like, this is like B2B sales? Because I don't think stump grinding is like B2B sales, but
it is B2B sales. This is literally a B2B sales business.
95-ish% of my revenue is well, what's the differentiator? Reoccurring. So it's not recurring, but I work with the same contractors who continue giving me same sub jobs all the time. So my marketing spend is almost zero. So I build a relationship up front with a company that doesn't have a grinder. They either rent or, they have an old one that's just not great. And it just makes more sense to have someone else do it. Either they don't love their sub currently or they're tired of renting, and we build that relationship slowly. And then now, I just make sure I answer my phone and get back to text really fast, put it on the calendar and get it done.
So these aren't residential clients. The majority of your clients are like what? Apartment complexes, businesses.
Let me interrupt you, Nick. Let's start a stump grinding business that only goes through tree trimming crews because they're outsourcing their stump grinding to other people. So his customers are the tree trimming business owners, but their customers are residential. He's just not going through residential customers.
Oh, I'm a retarded.
They're subbing it out to him.
Now I remember this part of the conversation.
Yeah. And for anyone listening, if you want to go back and listen to this original podcast, it was episode number 37, July 10th, B2B stump grinding, cash cow or dud.
That's right. Because it wasn't just the stump grinding we were talking about. Yeah. Okay. Now
you probably
I'm
heard
caught
it
up
on
Tyler.
the 11th, but yeah.
Yeah. No, we're all here. It's perfect.
I'm caught up.
We're here physically.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of the stuff we just talk about in theory, right? Where we're like, yeah, dude, this is what you could do. Here's the idea. How much of what we said, I mean, it's mainly Chris's idea, but how much of what we said did you go out and implement and it worked? And how much of what we said was it like, yeah, this didn't work. I had to go out and find customers this way.
Yeah, I want to shout out Chris on this. I've mentioned this on Twitter, and Chris, I try to always tell people what ideas came directly from you still to this day. I followed literally, I'm not joking, word for word. There's 10 minutes of the podcast that I probably listened to, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times. And I had pretty much written down word for word the exact text to send, the exact softwares to try it out, trying it in a different market. So I actually tried out tried it out in Boise, even though I was down here in Provo. I was never going to service a Stump in Boise, but I wanted to see the demand in a similar market. So I
Yeah.
literally did everything from that podcast, did not change anything. And there was stuff that wasn't covered in the podcast, like brands of machines and, trailers and different things that are just logistics for the business that I had to go learn myself. But how to actually drum up my first customers, it was directly from the podcast.
Nick, let me jog your memory even more.
Yeah.
I went to Upwork and hired a virtual assistant to call hundreds of tree trimming companies in Houston, because Houston's like a comparable market to DFW, because we were literally thinking about starting this. And then I shared that data with anyone that wanted it in a spreadsheet. And I forget what it was. It was like 10% of the market was willing to sub it out to us. And I think we covered the data on an episode like a month later or so. Did you ever look at that data, Tyler, and use it, or was it just kind of irrelevant?
Yeah, I got that spreadsheet and that data. I mean, I looked at it. It helped me organize my spreadsheet actually and how I did some of my outreach. And I asked you about your cold caller, and you're like, hey, I'll give you it once he's done doing this cold calling for me. And I was like, all right, that's fine. Like, I'll just go do it myself. So I went and did most of the cold calling, cold texting all myself, early stages.
Gotcha.
So Boise was your test market?
Boise was my test market.
What did it show?
Oh, it was crazy. I remember the first day I sent out like 45 texts, and I had guys calling me like, dude, you need to be in this backyard in like 20 minutes. And I was like, whoa. I was like, easy. Like I didn't, there were some uncomfortable conversations there. I felt a little bit
Like,
dishonest.
whoa. I was just lying. I'm not.
I just
This was a
listened to a guy on a podcast.
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah. I was like, dude,
Are
I
you my
can't
grandson?
grind stumps. You guys are crazy. It was, yeah, but no, it went fast. That's how fast I did like 3 days of that. And then I was like, I'm going to stop doing this because I'm starting to get into some really weird conversations with people following up with me. Like, are you going to show up? I never told anyone I was going to show up anywhere, but there were people, telling me they had jobs for me. But it was great. I used those opportunities as like a conversation. I have an Arizona number. That's where I grew up. And so I was just like, hey, coming from Arizona, this is the pricing down there. Like, what does the pricing look like up here? Once again, you can judge me for my dishonesty. I totally understand.
Dude, that's smart. Yeah.
And
So you were framing it as, hey, I'm already out of market. This is what we usually pay. Help me understand what the pricing is. But really, you were just trying to get the pricing.
Yeah. And basically they would give me like, oh yeah, it usually works like this up here. And I was like, okay, took a ton of notes. And then I was like, I'm sure it probably works pretty similar in Provo and Salt Lake.
If people can't see Chris's face, but right now, hearing Tyler talk about, it's like, I didn't lie to anybody outright, and like just how uncomfortable he was having those conversations. Chris looks like James Franco in the meme where he's looking over, he has a noose around his neck, and he looks over at the guy and he goes, first time?
First time?
Yeah, that's how Chris looks right now to Tyler.
I've had so many awkward conversations. That's all I do is just send out text to hundreds of people to validate things or not. And then it's like, oh my gosh, next thing I know, there's a 80-foot Santa Claus in my front yard.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a true story.
First time. Dude. Okay, so Boise was like, oh my gosh. Yep, it's here. It's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to now do this. Where are you? You're in Provo?
I'm in Provo. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Provo? I believe that's how it's pronounced, correct?
Yeah.
Provo?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly how it went. I brought the same idea down. I actually kind of wished that early on, I was like, I wish I was in Boise because I got a little bit better and like more opportunities in Boise than I did in my area.
If only you knew somebody in Boise.
Yeah, I wasn't really willing to pick up and move everything right then. But no, it still worked out great. I found my first 2 to 3 contractors are guys that give me a ton of work still to this day. And then, after you land your first 2 or 3, the worry of like not being able to pay equipment or trailer or just some of that stuff kind of leaves, and it's just building from there. So it was awesome to get to those first 2, 3 relationships in the first few weeks, and then slowly after that build. But those first 4 weeks too, I was doing all this at a office of a tech company. So that was fun.
Are you just renting a grinder and then going out and doing these jobs, or did you buy one?
I rented for the first month. I found a dealership that was about to pull a new machine out of their new sales into their rental fleet. And they said, hey, you can rent this for the month. If you decide to buy it, we'll just roll the rental price into the buy price, which was an awesome win-win for everyone.
So did you never end up doing any jobs in Boise? You just used that to test?
Yeah, I never traveled to Boise at all. So yeah, it was just a test market.
It's not surprising to me that the outreach fared better in Boise, just because I feel like Provo is the most competitive market in the world for anything. You've got like 80,000 return missionaries that have been rejected 1,000,000 times each, and they're just so ready to launch a business. Like
Yeah, you said
everything's
it's not
oversaturated
surprising, or it is surprising
Provo.
that Boise.
It's not surprising that
Okay.
you had better luck in Boise, because Provo is like the worst for launching stuff. If you can make something work in Provo, mark my words, you can make it work anywhere.
If you can make it here, kid, you can make it anywhere. Freaking New York
Well,
City.
I mean, Nick, like on one hand, you have all these enterprising return missionary business owners. And then on the other hand, you have a bunch of people like me that are like, oh, okay, your price is $3.50. Well, you do 14 cents. You know, like what?
Yeah, the combination of
The
those two
cheapest
is not
people in the
good.
world.
We looked at Provo. Remember, we did it with
For tree trimming.
What's his name? Yeah, for tree trimming, and we were like, oh man, it is hyper competitive out here in Provo. What was the time? So you listened to it on the 11th, let's say July 11th. What's the timeline here between July 11th and like your first booked job? Like when did you start doing the testing in Boise? When did you start looking in Provo? And then when did you have your first booked job?
So I listened to it July 11th. I think I sent my first batch of texts July 12th. As fast as that outscraper thing happened,
Bias for action.
I just went. And the cool thing about this, I have not always been like this. I just want to like kind of play both sides of this a little bit in that like there was a direct way to go test this in a different market, and this wasn't going to hurt me. So I was like, I'm going to try this today. And so July 12th, I think I sent my first text. By the end of that week, I was like, this has some legs to it. Like I started going into dealerships and talking about, or, learning about brands of stump grinder. I also emailed probably 50 owners of stump grinding companies in different states. Just like a quick, like, can I interview you? Can I ask you a few questions? That actually worked well for me, really well. People are open with their time, especially these stump grinders. They were awesome and kind of got me up to speed really fast on brands and stuff. But yeah, anyways, and then I had my first book job August 3rd. So I remember 2 jobs that were 4 stumps. One job was 3 stumps and the other job was 1 stump on August 3rd. That was a Saturday. And it was electric. It was awesome.
Any like horror stories, like any just embarrassing stories? You screwed something up or something broke?
Yeah, not on the day one, but absolutely. Yeah. I had one at a townhome complex. It was for an HOA and there's roots running everywhere. And at the last second, the tree guy was like, dude, I need you to get every single root out. And I was like, okay, we can do that. But like, we're going to hit a sprinkler line somewhere. And he's like, that's fine. Like, let's just do it. We'll fix it. Yeah. I was like, all right, whatever, dude. Yeah. And this is my first time working with him too. So I'm young and dumb and whatever. And we go hit the sprinkler line. It's right next. I can't make this up. This is a summer day in Utah, right next to a window of a townhome. The sprinkler starts like the highest pressure water you've ever seen starts coming through this person's window.
No, it's fine.
The window is open.
It's fine.
The window is open. I basically break into their house. I like slam. They don't come in 2 seconds. I open. I was like, hey, is anyone home? Because I do not want to flood their whole living room. Finally, they come downstairs. Gosh. We shut the window. We finally figure out where the sprinkler turnoff is because HOAs are weird. It was like at the front of the property. And then he was like, oh yeah, you're going to be on the hook for this, by the way. So I didn't make $1 off that job, which was a nightmare.
Oh my God.
A nightmare. But yeah, I mean, a few things like that, but overall, what you do as a stump grinder, as long as you call in like utility locates, it's pretty simple.
Was that Derek Sorensen? It was Derek Sorensen, wasn't it? Freaking brother Sorensen.
It was Braden Christensen.
Was it Braden Christensen? Gosh, dang it, dude.
Yeah. No, yeah. It was, Joseph something. Yeah.
No,
100%.
Oh, any other stories like that?
Yeah. There was one where they wanted me to fit through like a gap between 2 sheds. And then there was a electric line running to the back shed. It was a private electric line. I saw it. I knew it was there. I'm an
That'll
idiot.
Kill you.
I was just like, dude, I can, do this, whatever. And so I hit it. I couldn't do it. I'm an idiot. And the back shed was the home office for the dad of that family. Didn't know that. And so he comes out, like I hit it, sparks fly everywhere. He comes out just pissed, like so mad, and rightfully so. Like that was completely on me.
Flip.
Yeah.
Brother Elder.
Exactly. What the frick is happening? And then I was like, yeah, I'm sorry I hit this, and had to pay for that one too. Those are really the 2 worst ones. Outside of that, it's been small stuff here and there.
All right, here's my question for all the people who are like, actually, you can't do one of these businesses without this type of insurance, this type of insurance, this much. When did you actually get insurance?
Right away. I did do
Oh, you
that
did?
right
Okay.
away. Yes. Yes. I have. This one felt a little bit different. It didn't feel like I was, I don't know,
Move
running a
fast and
cleaning
break
company.
things.
Good, 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 good.
Yeah. This one I felt like I was like, I could actually probably do some damage somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I got insurance right
And you
away.
did.
Both those things I paid out of pocket, but
No,
I
yeah,
did
that makes sense.
have insurance. Yeah.
Can you give me an idea? So August was your first month. You've quit your job? Like you're not working, you're grinding full time?
I quit my job September 1st. Yeah.
Oh my
So-
gosh, dude.
Woo!
So tell me, what's your revenue been? Just hit me August, September, October, November, if you can.
I have that somewhere. I could break it out individually, but so it was 9,500 in August. And then in September, I had like so much on the calendar that I was like, it's either I quit or I get fired, basically. And so I actually I negotiated some severance because I was pretty good at my job. So I had a really good book and I was like, hey, let me help pass these accounts off to someone that wants them and let me leave. And they're like, yeah, perfect. We'll pay you for a month. And I was like, let's freaking go. And so September was 23K. So that was actually
Oh
my
my
biggest month still
gosh.
to this point.
Really?
Yes. And
Probably-
then it slowed
probably
down
because you're
of
like-
winter.
I was just gonna say, yeah, probably because it's like end
Yeah.
of summer, going into fall. That's
Yep.
when people are doing the majority of this type of work.
Totally. And then through the end of the year, I did 69,000 in revenue from August 3rd to the end of the year. And then in January, I did like 7. And this month I'll do 11. So it's starting to pick up again for the
Holy
spring.
cow. Even in February, you're doing 11 grand.
Yeah. Yeah. We're excited about that. It's awesome.
I mean, are you grinding through the snow?
Yeah. Some days. Yeah. I try not to, I try not to do it on snow days, but yeah, some days it's scheduled and it's not coming down too bad. If it's like a blizzard, I'm not going to be grinding a stump, but if it's some light snow, yeah, we'll put on a few jackets and go.
Let's talk unit economics, like per job. What is your average job size? What is your average profit per job? And how do you think that'll change when you start scaling and hiring?
Yeah. So 390 is my average job size. And that's skewed upwards probably because of a few outliers. I've had like a $4,000 job and a $5,000 job that are considered, one job there. I do not know my profit per job, just going to be honest there, hand up. I try to keep track of all this stuff, but I don't know that currently.
That's okay. I mean, rough ballpark, like based on what you're like, because you own the thing now, so there's no rental cost. You've got gas, your own time. I have to think your costs aren't that much.
No, not at all. Directly, like my stump grinding payments, $990. I pay $175 for my trailer, and then I pay like $450 for my truck. I park it at a storage facility for, $150, and then I have $450 of insurance monthly. So like total, you're talking like $2,000 to $2,500 of overhead, and I make that like I do $1,500 days routinely in the summer.
And I mean, that's paying down your assets too, most of it. Like,
Right.
geez.
Yeah, that's a good question. How much did the stump grinder cost?
So video is cool, but you know what's better? Long form audio via podcast and my newsletter, tkopod.com. Go there to subscribe for free to my newsletter. It's 1 email a week, very tactical. And then go to my audio podcast, 3 episodes a week, stuff like this. You're going to love it. All free, no sleazy sales pitch, tkopod.com.
Stump grinder was $55,000. So
And so you're on payments, right? You didn't pay out of
Yeah.
pocket, I'm assuming.
yeah, I had to put 20% down on that. Everything else I was zero down on.
That's what I was just going to ask. How did you finance it?
There's some awesome companies that will do startup loans for heavy equipment where they still lend it to your company with your personal credit is weighted in there, and they kind of screw you with interest rates. But hey, I mean, I was in the game,
Yeah, exactly.
and my business credit started growing, so I actually was able to get like a business credit card pretty fast because of that.
So like what's the term of the loan? How long over how's it amortized? What's your monthly payment?
5-year loan, $990 payment. I put like $12,000 down because I had to put like
Dang.
20% down. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, I was just doing the math as you were talking, and I'm like, all right, you said month 1, 9,500, month 2, 23,000. And then you did 69,000 total between August and December. So you averaged about $12,000 a month for the rest of the year. And then you said January and February, you've done about 11,000 a month.
about, yeah, just about across the two.
What was your job before?
I was a SaaS sales rep, if you will. So selling reoccurring SaaS products.
So you're probably making more money than this, but you're like back of the envelope, you're taking home at least $9,000 a month.
What's so funny is because a lot of, personal expenses are rolled up into a lot of the things that I do for business, like I am going to be very interested to see after the end of a full year with a lot of those upfront costs already handled. Like, I think I can make more if I was gonna be the one grinding all year this year, which I wanna hire eventually, but right now it's just shoveling cash away. I actually think you'd be surprised how fast you could hit the mark of, like, a good W-2 if you're just willing to, like, be out there and just do a lot of hard work.
Well, that was going to be my question. 23,000 in September was a good month. You're coming into the months where in this, spring and summer, well, you'll probably have big months again. What's your plan to be able to do, 23, if not more than that a month?
So, a few things. The first one was the beautiful thing about being a sub and the last person to talk to the customer is I've actually gotten a lot of reviews without ever spending a dollar in marketing because I
Hmm.
leave and I'm like, "Hey, this is I have a little card, that you put on the back of their phone and it pulls up my review link there." I'm like, "Hey,
Mhm.
I work with Name the Tree Company all the time. Like I do all their stumps for them. I'm a new company. Like I'm here in Provo. I'm working hard. Like, could I get a review?" So I have 55 5-star reviews. We're starting to get a little bit more organic traffic directly from the customer and starting to rank a little bit better for stump grinding specifically. And then building more and more tree relationships. It's the biggest thing I could do. One tree relationship can give me anywhere from 5 grand on the year to like 20, 30 grand on the year of revenue.
Jeez.
So it's just important
Wow.
that I build those as strong as I can, do anything I can to land my first job for that tree company, and then do everything I can to, be reoccurring for them.
So you're not being super strict about like I'm only B2B. Like you would love both.
Yes, absolutely.
Are your subs or your crews that are referring you, are they cool with that? Have you talked to them about that or are you just kind of leaving business cards on the sly?
The review part, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Or like do they care that you're talking to the customer directly? Probably not because it's you're not competing with them, right?
They love it because I send them a message like, "Hey, just got done at Sally's." Like, she's super stoked on how it all went, and, like, in their head, they're like, "Oh, great, yeah, they love us." So I always leave that little text after, and it's a loud machine, so I always just knock, and I'm pretty personable, so in their head, it's still the tree company doing the service, you know what I mean? That's the
Yeah,
only
yeah,
person
yeah.
they've communicated with, so I don't think my guys mind it too much.
What about unit economics between you and the tree trimming company? Like what are they charging? What are they paying you?
Yeah. Usually so I price everything by a measurement of diameter of the stump. So if you take the widest diameter of the stump, you times it by $7 an inch is what I charge usually. I'll go above and below that just depending on a few things. But a lot of tree companies will charge a customer anywhere from like $8 to $12 an inch,
Mhm.
and they'll keep the part up top. Early on, I was giving percentages of that $7 an inch back to the tree company, but then
Mm.
I've been so good for the tree companies that I've worked for, like so reliable, that recently I've just been like, "Hey, $7 an inch is my price. If you want to take a cut, just charge, upcharge, but I need the $7 an inch." And they've all been really cool with that.
Okay, so the customers aren't paying you.
Customers aren't usually paying me directly. No, usually I get paid by the tree guy. Yep.
Do you know what per inch that they're charging?
Usually like 10 to 12 bucks an inch, usually.
Okay, I guess you said that. Okay.
And then sometimes, if it's a huge job, they'll throw a stump in for free, or there's a bunch of things that they'll do, but usually the job will make up for that if they throw it in for free. So
When you go directly through the customer, are you charging 10 to 12 per inch?
yes, yeah, absolutely. Usually I'll sit at right around 10 when I'm going directly on if someone got my number.
Have you started getting direct customer referrals at this point?
Yeah, yeah, some direct customer referrals. Every once in a while, like tree companies just don't even want to deal with the stump grinding lead
Uh-huh.
if it's a pure stump grinding lead. So they'll just shoot my number over to that customer and
So,
I'll get a
so
call
are
that
you
way.
still paying $0 for marketing, or are you starting to invest in that?
I'm starting to invest a little bit into marketing. SEO I've paid for actually the whole time. So I have paid for, my friend runs a little SEO company out here. And so I've been investing in that and like the website a little bit, but outside of that, I'm playing with some Facebook group direct marketing potentially, I think could work. Yeah, playing with a few different things.
How important do you think your sales ability is to this being successful to someone, or is it not that hard of a sale?
It's not that hard of a sale to the tree company. If they don't like their guy, or they're renting, or their machine just went down, like they just need you. There's been a few times where I'm like, oh, that was me. Like I showed up to their office. They're like, oh yeah, we use this guy and we're really happy with them. And I hang out there for a little bit and talk to them. And by the end, they're like, dude, you know what? Like we actually have a stump for you tomorrow or whatever. And those were times that I used my sales ability, but for the most part, it's a pretty easy sale.
Okay. And when it comes to a tree trimming business owner, what type of owner is most likely to use you? Is it someone that owns a machine and it keeps breaking down, someone that rents a machine, someone that's already outsourcing it to your direct competitor?
It's a mix between people that have rented and just have never found a guy they liked, and someone that's tired of their sub. And then I'll get called like emergency wise when people's grinders go down a lot. Actually, guys that have told me no in the past, they'll hit my, they'll call me and be like, "Our grinder's down today. Can you pick this up?" So that's great too.
How are you doing the marketing? Do you have a CRM? Do you have a Google Sheet? Like, how are you tracking? Oh, this is the tree trimming company I want to target. I followed up with them, this many times. Because you can keep it in your head only so far. And then at a certain point, you got to systematize it.
I have a Google Sheet. I haven't put anything into I would love to get a full blown HubSpot built out for myself eventually, because that's always what I used at the tech companies. But currently it's all on a Google Sheet with every text and email recorded that I've sent to these people. I'm starting like some cold email stuff, which has actually worked really well because I don't think anyone in the history has marketed stump grinding through cold email to tree contractors. I really think I'm breaking some ground there. And yeah, I don't know. That's worked really well.
And what system are you using for job tracking, invoicing, collections, those types of things?
Sheets for all of that. I don't use anything else currently.
Chris, I mean, this is what we talked about. Like, that's what I love about people like you and Tyler and these businesses. You didn't spend the time to like put up your fancy CRM. You're not like, okay, I got to have high level or I got to have Jobber. Oh, this is my invoicing software. Like, no, dude, I got Google Sheets. I've been reaching out to people because I went and scraped data and now I have their contact information, and you just freaking went.
Yeah.
Those are all friction to just actually launching the thing.
Yeah. I checked the other day actually because someone asked me. I had 30K in revenue before I ever had like a website or domain or anything, which was awesome. Like I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Wow. That's right. So you didn't have a website until October?
Yeah, till like October. Yeah, exactly.
Was it because you were like hesitant? Were you like, I don't want to like commit to this because I don't know if it's my thing yet? Or were you just like too busy to even think about it?
Yeah, I was more on the side of like busy. I was like, this is working. Okay. I don't really need more jobs right now. So let's just keep doing what's working and then we'll figure this out once it gets cold. And a lot of that's come since then.
So your average job is $390. What does that look like? Is it one stump, 3 stumps? Do they get discounts for multiple stumps?
My average job is somewhere between 1 to 2 stumps. Somewhere sitting there if you take them all. I did 20 stumps for a city and they were all big stumps. That was like a $4,600 job. And then you show up for minimums. My minimum is like $150. So anything below a certain size is just $150.
Is there any removal? Like, are you taking anything or are you just grinding and leaving it?
About 70 to 80% of my jobs are grind and go is what we call it. So you grind, you leave it in a nice pile. You tell the customer like, hey, use this in your yard, use this in your mulch beds, use this wherever. It's good stuff. And then the other 20, 30% are like people that need it gone for some reason or the other. And that's why I do have a dump trailer for that reason. I don't have anything else to pick up the mulch besides a shovel and a wheelbarrow. So those jobs aren't a lot less fun, but I do offer that and usually charge double if I need to do that. Customer never understands why it's double, but it's double because you have to go dump in the middle of the day. It's a lot harder, takes a lot longer. It's just, it's a lot harder of a job.
I wonder if there's any opportunity for that to take the mulch somewhere, right? Like have a relationship with a nursery or somewhere that you can sell the mulch to after.
I haven't figured out selling the mulch, but I found at least places where I can dump for free at landscape yards, which has been nice. It's better. And it's closer than the dump is here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Isn't there a company called like Mulch Masters or something that like they're like middleman between tree trimming companies and consumers?
Yes.
They like sell mulch. What are they called?
I forgot what they're called. It's like Chip Drop or something like that.
That's right? That's it. Does that not work for you?
So Chip Drop's unique because they're kind of, what I have is mixed with dirt, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
A tree company is chipping directly into the back of a truck, so it's pure wood chips. Mine is like a little dirtier. Landscape yards will take them though.
Yeah. Now I'm curious that you said you listened to that 10-minute clip over and over and over. Now we're six months later now. What in that 10-minute clip ended up just not being very relevant or helpful? And what in that 10-minute clip was just like gospel truth is still true today?
Yeah, on the top end of like where this could scale to, like I don't want to put a limit on myself, but I think there are some numbers thrown around. Like this could be a, $3-4 million company. It's hard for me to see that a future of that ever being the case, even if you grow it really smart. It's just there's a lot of other options. People do own their own machines. Big companies own their own machines. There's some limit to the market size there. But what was gospel was, grabbing lists from Outscraper, cold texting with a really simple cold text, and then just following up from there. And that's what I did. I added a few like of my own unique flair. After every text I sent, the day after I would just send, hey, just following up on this with like an up arrow. And a lot of people are disorganized with their texts. So they see it just following up on this. They call me instantly because they're like, oh, this guy's trying to give me business. And then I'll have them on the line like, dude, what's up? I'm a stump grinder. And they're like, oh, you could tell they're like, crap, I shouldn't have called this guy. And yeah, and then, but I already have them. And so we built a relationship that way.
So I remember that $3 to $4 million number, and that was based on how many tree trimming crews there were in greater DFW, which is like 950, and on getting like 5% of them. And I just Googled like what the greater Provo, Orem, Lehigh metro population is, 733,000. So DFW is almost exactly 10 times more than that. Do you think this could be a $300,000 to $400,000 business? If so, then 3 to 4 million in DFW could still be accurate.
There you go. 100%. And to be fair, I do service Salt Lake County too. I service Salt Lake County less than I service Utah County. So together between the two counties, it's like 1.7 million people ish.
Jeez.
But yeah, no, I think this could definitely be a $300,000 to $400,000 company here for sure. I think it could be 5, 6, 700,000, no doubt. I was just saying like top level. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it could.
Move to Dallas.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
It couldn't be that by yourself, but if you started getting other people to grind for you,
absolutely,
then potentially you scale. How do you view this business? Like, do you think this is the business Tyler's going to be doing 5 years from now? Or was this like a cool experiment that is now giving you confidence to become an entrepreneur and do other things?
More in the B camp. It will be what I'm doing for the next few years for sure. What I consider it to be is a cash heavy business that allows me to learn business at a really, really low level of risk, like really low now. At this point, there's pretty much no risk in my day to day. And then I sit back and I do a ton to learn as much as I can about other business models and do other things outside of just stump grinding. Now, with that being said, though, I do want to push and see where it can go, because what I do at that point where I go pursue something maybe a little bit bigger or that has some bigger TAM to it than stump grinding, what I do in the next few years will decide what I do with this business. Can I try to sell it? Can I try to put my brother in, as the owner operator or as an operator and still take checks from the company? There's a lot of options. So really most of my day-to-day is focused on pushing it as far as I can. But I do think at some point I will want to move to something a little bit bigger.
I'm like so tempted right now to just go start this business. It just sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I won't, but
it's fun.
Here's my question is, if you were to wave a magic wand and get every single tree trimming business in your market, all 1.7 million people, every tree trimming business owner on the phone, and give them your best shot and then follow up as you do with all of them, what percentage of them do you think you could get as a customer?
It's a good question. Probably 20 to 25%, I think would be maybe 30% would be right around there.
Higher than I thought.
I really think I could do 30%.
And you think 5 to 25 grand a year top line from each of them is realistic?
Yes, it just depends on the size, but yes, yeah, there's some, it could even be bigger, to be honest, if you get a huge company, but those guys run like 2 to 3 grinders and just don't need me.
Yeah. Okay, so let's be conservative here, because we know that there's about one tree trimming business for every 10,000 people. So if you're in a city on an island, 100,000 people, there's going to be 10 tree trimming businesses. Let's say that someone isn't as good at selling as you and they can only close 20% of them. That's going to be 2. Let's say 5 to 25,000 per year. Let's be conservative and say $10,000. So theoretically, in a city of 100,000, you would do $20,000 a year top line. Or does that sound like too low, like too conservative?
No, that sounds about right. Yeah, sounds about right.
How many tree trimming companies are there in the 1.7 million, I guess, metroplex that you're operating in?
I don't have an exact number. I know my data scrape pulled like 500 plus.
That's like 1 in 5,000.
There's duplicates and stuff in there too.
I remember, Nick, when we did this research for tree trimming, we didn't like Provo because Dallas was 1 in 10,000. Provo was 1 in 5,000 people.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was good for you.
There's less tree coverage too here than in Dallas. If you compare them directly, there's a few less trees here, just a little bit drier.
Last question. What is the exact make and model of your grinder, and would you recommend it to others?
Bandit 2550, yes, I would definitely recommend it to others. You have to get to a certain amount of horsepower that you're dangerous in the industry. Because if you're at the low horsepower that people could rent the same machine, it's like, why would we do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then there's top levels that are way bigger than mine that would be awesome to have. They're just come with about double the price point. So it's a great middle ground. But I always tell guys, hey, go find the dealerships in your area, because there's 4 brands and there's really not always 4 dealerships for each, a brand for each dealership in your area. So dealership support is important in stump grinding, because these things take a beating and you're going to need to replace things on them. So I always tell people that.
What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about doing this in their local market?
Yeah, I would tell them to go listen to that first podcast. I would tell them to go listen to this. And then can I shout other people's podcasts
Yes,
on
course.
Here? Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll bleep it out.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
Say whatever you want. It's not
Yeah, exactly. Austin Gray, he's big on Twitter as well. He runs the Owner Operator podcast. He interviewed me there, and we went really into detail about like the small things in the business, because he runs a land clearing heavy machinery business as well. So that's awesome. And then I'll plug my own stuff. I don't talk about this at all, but I do have a lot of
community
people now.
Of course.
No, not a community, not of course. No. Well, I guess it is a PDF.
Yes.
There it is.
Well, okay. It's kind of a keep going.
I have gotten a little bit of a following on Twitter. So I have a lot of people ask for phone calls and stuff like that. And one week, I think I hopped on like 15 phone calls, and I was like, what am I doing with my week? And so I put together this 84-page PDF. It's a no-brainer price. It's like $149. My average job's $390. So if you ever land a stump grinding job, you will pay for the PDF. And that's what I'd recommend too, because I put some stuff on there that's a lot of it's from the original podcast with you, Chris, but then there's a lot of like stump grinding specific stuff on there that's just super niche.
Chris, what percentage did we get from that?
89%.
We got 89%. Okay, cool.
Exactly. Gumroad gets the other 5%, and then I'm left with like 4.5% there. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Dude, Tyler, nice work, man. This is awesome.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I just wanted to say real quick, like I have listened to every episode of both of your podcasts. So I'm not just saying that.
Thank you.
I am really, this is awesome. I just really appreciate being here and meeting you guys. I know it's kind of sounds funny, but it's like meeting. I'm excited about it this morning. So
I would ask you whose podcast you like better, but I don't want to have my feelings hurt.
Don't ask.
I listened to Chris's first because I saw tweets from Chris earlier, and
I'm his first love.
I've caught up on both. So,
dude, congratulations! Can't wait to check in with you in a year, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tyler. This is awesome. You're awesome.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, what'd you think? Please share it with a friend, and we'll see you next time on the Koerner Office.